I grew up in a house where my sister's wins came with confetti, and mine came with. Did you turn off the lights? Her name is Alina, straight A, student council Alina. I'm Nate. I fixed things. The day Alina's acceptance to Northview University arrived, our living room turned into a parade. Mom baked cupcakes in school colors, Dad wore his proud parent cap, and Yolanda FaceTimed like a sideline reporter. Alina read the email with a trembling voice. I clapped. I was happy for her. Then Dad slid a key fob across the coffee table. Just a little something to get you to campus. Outside, under a "Congrats" banner, sat a glacier white Audi A5 with a bow large enough to block the sun. Mom checked my face like a weather app. Don't be weird, Nate, she said. Your time will come. 2 weeks later, my acceptance came, from Dayton Trade Institute's Automotive Collision and Refinish program. I carried the letter into the garage where Dad was polishing the Audi. I got in, I said. He didn't look up. Good. Honest work. You'll always have something to fall back on. Mom smiled tight. That's nice. You can take the bus. So, your time will come. Meant, your bus will come, if it's in the mood. Alina hugged me gently. You'll be great, she whispered. If you ever need to borrow the Audi. She glanced at Dad. Maybe not. It bruised. The difference. I took the bus schedule off the fridge and stuffed it in my pocket. If you show me a closed door, I'll look for the hinge screws. That summer I worked overnight at Sal's grocery, and mornings, I helped Mr. Benton, a retired mechanic next door. He had a rust-eaten pickup, a lawnmower that screamed like a haunted violin, and a dog named Milton who judged me constantly. Mr. Benton paid me in cash, advice, and frozen sandwiches his late wife had labeled. Hands like yours? He'd say. You'll never be hungry. At home, dinner conversations were weather reports about Alina. By August, she had dorm bedding, 5 planners, and a TikTok photo of the Audi in golden hour. I had a bus pass and boots that smelled like Produce-Isle misting. The night before orientation, Dad tossed me a reflective vest for shop class and a speech about keeping expectations realistic. Mom added, Northview is demanding for your sister. We'll be focused on helping her adjust. Translation, be low maintenance. I set my alarm for 5:10 a.m. The bus stop was a metal bench behind the Baptist church. Dew soaked my backpack. When the bus finally sighed to a stop, the driver said, You knew? Like he was welcoming me to a planet where time is a rumor. Dayton Trade Institute isn't fancy. It smells like solvent and ambition. Our instructor, Ms. Hargrove, asked what we wanted out of the program. Guys said, a job, a shop, not to breathe filler dust forever. I said, I want to be the person people call when their day hits a pole and their hope needs pulling out. She nodded. Then show up. Early. Always. So I did. I learned to read damage like Braille, to blend paint so the sun can't catch you lying, and to hold the DA sander until your wrists buzz for an hour. On weekends, Mr. Benton let me practice on the pickup, which we named Lazarus because it refused to stay dead. And every morning at that bench, buses breathed past while Alina posted the Audi with captions like, She purrs. Good. Let it purr. I was teaching myself to roar. What I remember from that season isn't the Audi or the bus. It's the look I caught in the convex mirror over Ms. Hargrove's bench after I pulled my first and perfectly, my own grin, surprised at itself. Like I'd found the screw holding the door. I kept that look. I fed it. I saved. And I made a quiet promise I wouldn't say out loud at home. One day I'll hang my own shingle. And if anyone in this family ever needs my help, they'll book an appointment. Like everyone else. Trade school gave me a new alphabet P4 primer, U for urethane F4. Flex additive, use it. Ms. Hargrove ran on black coffee. My gloves squeaked when I was nervous. Home didn't change. Dinner had an Audi-shaped shadow, Mom on garages, Dad on Northview connections. Me passing the salt. Alina tried. She brought me a Northview keychain. For your bus pass? She said, wincing. When Dad wasn't looking, she squeezed my arm. Tell me if they make you do stuff for free. Week 3, the Audi met reality, a rear quarter bow bump from a grocery cart lane. They called it a little kiss. It looked like a headbutt. Nathan, Dad said, be a champ and smooth this out for your sister. Good practice for your portfolio. Do I get to put worked for luxury client on it? I asked. He chuckled. Alina bit her lip. I can pay. Absolutely not. Mom cut in. Family helps family. So I helped. I set up a pop-up tent in the driveway. I massaged the metal, feathered the paint, and blended until the sun pretended nothing happened. When I finished, the panel was glacier white again, no hint a buzz kid did it for free. Dad clapped my shoulder. Knew you'd be handy. He handed me a slice of pizza on a napkin. My tip. That night I opened my notes app and wrote a fake invoice. Audi A5 rear quarter 6. 2 labor HRS $0. Family discount 100%. Lesson, charge next time. In class, Ms. Hargrove caught me fixing a tiny paint run. Perfectionism will either make you great or make you broke, she said. To be great and not broke, make a price sheet. Mr. Benton backed her up from his lawn chair. People value what they pay for, he said. Start small. Charge fair. Keep promises like wet paint, no fingerprints. So I practiced on everything: mailbox dents, a neighbor's lawn chair, a toolbox that looked like it had survived 3 tours. My first paying client found me there, Nurse Carla, whose Corolla had a parking lot tattoo. I saw you fixing that chair, she said, voice thin from a double. Do you work on real things? I can do it for labor plus materials, I said, trying to sound like a business. 180 okay? She exhaled. Deal. I worked under Mr. Benton's floodlight, every mosquito in Ohio attending. When the dent softened and the blend disappeared, she touched the panel like it was still warm from the factory. She pressed cash into my hand with that tiny tremble people get when something finally goes right. 2 20s extra. For staying late, her note said. I didn't tell my parents. I told Ms. Hargrove. Build a kit, she said. Compressor, decent gun, portable lights. Find a booth you can rent. So I started a jar, compressor in black marker. After a week, a smaller jar, sign. Transporting parts by bus became slapstick. Try climbing on board with a bumper shaped like a crescent moon. Carry on? The driver asked. It's a personality trait, I said, wedging it. 2 neighborhoods over I found Ortiz, a body man who rents his paint booth after hours if you don't annoy him. I'm careful, I said. You're young, he replied, handing me a broom. Under his fans, my work got cleaner, my jar got heavier. At home, the Audi kept starring in anecdotes. Alina called once, whispering from her dorm. I hate that they asked you for free. Tell me if they do it again. They won't, I said. Not angry. Just scheduled. Some nights, after clear coat, I sat on the booth threshold and pictured a bay with my name on the wall. Not big. Not flashy. Clean lines, good light. A place where people walk in with shame and drive out with relief. On the ride home, the jar tapped in my backpack like a patient drummer. And each time I passed the bow spot where the Audi once posed, I pictured a different bow, thin red ribbon, tight knot, across a glass door with my logo. Soon, I promised a version of me still wearing a reflective vest. We're going to price our worth. We're going to unlock the hinge. Cash jars grow slow, then all at once. By mid-semester the compressor jar had a real clink. I found a used unit in a sketchy listing and brought Mr. Benton to make sure it wasn't a humidifier in costume. It roared, coughed, then settled into the thrum painters get sentimental about. I named it Hilda. She lived in Mr. Benton's shed beside Milton's throne, a flattened box labeled Do Not Sit, which Milton sat on anyway. That night I made a price sheet, the sternest Google Doc of my life: labor rate, materials, free consults, paid repairs, and at the bottom, family discount, 10%, schedule required. I printed it and stuck it to the fridge with the cow magnet that had once held my ribbon before Mom filed it as memory. Dad squinted. You charge people this much? I charge what it takes, I said. And I fix it right the first time. Mom smiled from far away. Maybe don't scare early customers? It's scarier when paint peels in 6 months. Alina came home that weekend, the Audi purring like it owned the cul-de-sac. She saw the invoice pad. You have fonts, she whispered. Please don't let them guilt you. 10% is love, I said. 100% is enabling. 2 days later, boundaries got tested. Dad called from the church lot in that breezy but stressed voice. Quick favor. Mom grazed a pillar, tiny scuff. Can you swing by before service ends? 5 minutes. 5 minutes is the biggest lie in repairs. I checked my notebook, 2 bumpers and Ortiz's booth at 9. I can book you Tuesday at 6. I said. Materials plus labor, minus the family 10. Silence, then a not laugh. Nate, come on. Family. Price sheets on the fridge, I said. He exhaled. We put a roof over your head. And I fixed your quarter panel for pizza, I said. I'll do this one at cost if you want it fast. Or free if you can wait till next weekend. I just can't drop everything anymore. A beat. Then, cost it is, he said quiet. You're good. I did the repair Tuesday. Mom hovered with lemonade like hospitality could be currency. When the pearl coat winked, I handed Dad an itemized invoice with the discount circled. He paid without quite meeting my eyes. Work spread in boring, perfect ways. Nurse Carla sent coworkers. Mr. Benton sent church friends and a rumor that I could match metallic in my sleep. I cannot. Awake is best. Ortiz gave me the booth key earlier and, with it, opinions. You're heavy on clear, he grunted. I backed off. The next job looked like a photograph. Transport by bus stayed comedic. Door skins and trim road city lines. One driver greeted me. Evening, auto body. A toddler asked if I was building a robot. Yes, I said. It eats dents. I ordered cards, matte, simple, a hinge logo because that's how I thought about this life. Find the pivot, move the door. Home kept orbiting Alina. She earned a summer research spot. I scored used stands from a guy named Big Mike, who called everyone boss. We all celebrated. The difference was in the captions. At dinner, Mom said, Alina's professor says she has leadership potential. Then to me, how's the booth situation? Booked, I said. And Hilda's purring. What's a Hilda? My compressor. The sting no longer felt like a slap, more like shoes a half size too small. Annoying, but walkable, especially when you know where you're headed. Nights in Ortiz's booth taught patience and small pride, the joy of a clean tape line, the relief of a mirror finish, the click when a repaired panel snaps in and stays. I kept adding to the jars and to a list titled Shop Dreams. Number 1. Waiting area that doesn't smell like despair. Number 2. Coffee that tastes like choices. Number 7. Glass door with a bow on opening day, not luck, just showing up. By humid summer, I wasn't the bus kid who fixed things for pizza. I scheduled, I quoted, I said, I can put you on Thursday. And meant it. And every time I said it, the room, any room, felt a little more mine. You don't lease a shop. You lease a promise and scrub it until it looks like one. The space I found sat behind a tire place, between a radiator yard and a bakery that woke at 4. 1 roll-up door, 2 flickering tubes, a floor tattooed with oil moons. The landlord, M.S. Tran, slid a month-to-month across a desk that once dreamed of being a dining table. You noisy? Focus, I said. Focused is fine. She handed me keys that smelled like WD-40 and history. Do not block the baker. Ortiz blessed the place with a dented parts cart and a box of masking tape. For when patience runs out, he said. Mr. Benton brought Milton and an air hose, then pretended to forget the hose so I'd keep it. Don't die, he said. And not on fresh clear. I hung pegboard, taped up my hinge logo, and painted with Alina. No bow, no speeches, just primer on our jeans. She stuck a Polaroid on the mini fridge. I'm not smiling so much as bracing. It still looks like hope. Graduation was in the auditorium with the good AC. Ms. Hargrove called my name like she was tuning a guitar. Dad had a work conflict. Mom texted a blue heart, and Alina clapped like she could pull sound from the rafters. After Ms. Hargrove pressed a small box into my hands, a spray gun. I didn't cry. My throat filed a complaint. I took the bus to my bay for the last time, carrying that box like rent money. The driver said, "Evening, auto body," and grinned when I answered, "Keys." The van came later, dented white, mismatched mirrors, a seat that remembered stranger knees. Not glamorous, just honest. Opening day had no ribbon, just a thermos, a broom, and a text from Miss Tran. "Do not block Baker." I posted the hinge on the glass. 12 people liked it. Nurse Carla arrived with a coworker whose bumper looked like it lost a bar fight. We wrote a real estimate at a real counter. I aligned the panel, checked gaps like a fussy tailor, and swept again. Dad stopped by en route to somewhere important. He walked the bay as if waiting for the walls to confess they were temporary. "So this is it," he said. "This is it," I said. "You're charging actual prices? There's a sheet on the wall." He nodded once, then twice, like his neck needed rehearsal. Proud of the initiative. He managed, which, in his dialect, is early for "good job." Sunday, at my parents' cookout, Dad's stage whispered, "Neighbors got a bumper scuff. Be a champ and take a quick look." I checked the time, 2 jobs waiting, booth at 9. I can book him on Tuesday. Materials, labor, minus the family 10. He blinked like I'd answered in a language he nearly knew. The neighbor came on Tuesday, stood in my clean bay, and read the price sheet the way people read promises. "Fair," he said, and handed me a deposit with 2 hands. I kept paint at Ortiz's. The bay was for prep and pride. Nights became choreography: scuff, clean, mask, prime, sand, repeat. Hilda hummed. Fans whirred. Sometimes the bakery laughed bread into existence. It felt like neighbors. Alina left post-its in dumb places, on the compressor. "Hilda is queen," inside the glove box. "Break glass for imposter syndrome," on the glass. "People walk in bent. You send them out straight." Midnight laughs are strange medicine, but they work. Money wasn't dramatic, it was commas behaving. I paid Miss Tran, replaced haunted lights, and learned which suppliers bring parts and which bring stories. When a customer said, "I heard you're honest," I didn't pretend otherwise. I just tried to keep up. One evening, I locked up and stared at the hinge until dusk stole it. The bus bench was miles behind me, the Audi bow further still. Ahead, not a highway yet, but a lane. I was laying at the speed of a tape line. I didn't need applause. I needed the door to stay open. I hung my keys on a peg labeled home, and went there like a person who'd earned sleep. Year 2 looked like invoices, coffee, and a permanent constellation of dust on my boots. I added a second pegboard, a couch that didn't smell like despair, and a sign. "We fix cars. We also fix days." Work grew. Ortiz sent overflow. People who needed honesty on Tuesday and gloss by Friday. I hired Maya for weekends, steady hands, dark humor. When a customer asked to talk to the guy, she slid them my price sheet. "You just did." Alina graduated into a lab job and brought bakery boxes on Thursdays. Sometimes she swept and we talked about the boring, important parts of adulthood: filters, budgets, chairs that don't collapse when uncles visit. My parents hovered, present enough to hear, distant enough to doubt. Dad texted links titled, "How to Start a Business." Mom commented, "Proud," on the shop page and then asked about discount bundles for church friends. I kept answers soft but firm. 10% was love. 100% was enabling. Adjusters speak a dialect where reasonable means if physics takes a day off. I learned to translate without starting wars. Maya taped a note above the phone, "Be a golden retriever with a calculator." Then the group chat pinged, "MOM. Emergency. Are you at the shop?" 30 seconds later, Dad pulled the van out. "We're on our way." No emojis, our siren. They arrived in an SUV whose front end had kissed a concrete planter. Everyone okay? I asked, before estimates, before speeches. We're fine, Mom said. But we need it fixed by Saturday. Your father's retirement dinner. And we don't want insurance, Dad added. Premiums. He said it like a curse. So, family discount. I measured gaps, felt for hidden crumple, listed parts. Maya rolled the cart like a pit crew philosopher. Bad is cheap, she murmured. Hidden is expensive. I totaled the estimate, subtracted 10%, and circled family discount in red. I can do it right by Friday if we start today. Mom tapped the number like smaller digits might leak out. We thought maybe, half? Since you know us. The room cooled. I could feel 17-year-old me at a damp bus stop, 21-year-old me under an Audi for pizza. The hinge on the door with my name held steady. Alina stepped closer to Mom. We pay him, she said. We pay people. Dad tried the old line. We put a roof over your head. And I'm grateful, I said. I'm also keeping one over mine. I won't send you out unsafe. Here are options. I flipped the clipboard. Insurance. I'll document and fight for OE parts. Or out of pocket. I keep the 10, we split into 3 payments, and I reuse the crash bar only if it's within spec. Mom's voice thinned. They pushed him out early, she said, touching Dad's sleeve. We didn't plan this. I understood. That's the worst part of boundaries. I'll be fair, I said. I just can't ask Maya to work for free or for physics to take a holiday. Dad searched my face for a secret sibling discount. What if we shout you out at the dinner? Our marketing budget is honesty and return calls, I said. They left, to think. Alina lingered. I can help, she said softly. You already did, I said, tapping the glass where her post-it had been. First bow on this door. 2 hours later, my office phone rang. Unknown number. I'm the adjuster, a man said. Your parents. Every shop either quoted higher or sent them to voicemail. Also, the church treasurer says your work's good. I looked at the cow magnet holding my price sheet. I can fit them in if they drop a deposit by 5, I said. And if we do it right. A pause. They're on their way, he said. They sounded desperate. I set the clipboard on the counter. The door swung once and settled, the hinge doing its quiet, stubborn job. I took a breath that tasted like primer and mercy, and waited for the bell to tell me who we all were now. They returned at 4:42, carrying the kind of silence you trip over. Dad set a deposit down with 2 fingers. Mom said softer, Thank you for squeezing us in. I didn't squeeze, I said. I scheduled. Adjuster Greg arrived, clipboard like a shield. We documented crush zones, took photos like tourists at disaster land, and I ordered parts that made my credit card breathe audibly. OE bumper cover and absorber, I said. No mystery plastic. Greg nodded. Appreciate the grown-up sentence. While parts shipped, I prepped. The crash bar was within spec, the headlight bracket wasn't. I called Dad. I can weld it, but I won't guarantee it. Replacement is safer. How much safer? The kind you don't regret on a rainy night. He sighed. I ordered the bracket. Alina showed up with thermoses and the face she wears when our family tries Monopoly with feelings. Want me to run parts? Sit, I said. Your morale. She told a story about a centrifuge attempting a jailbreak. Milton approved. Thursday, boxes landed like stubborn Christmas. Maya and I laid everything out in the kind of order that makes engineers tear up. Dad hovered. Couldn't you just bend that? Sure, Maya said. And on a hot day it remembers it's tired and your headlight says goodbye on the highway. He pocketed his opinions. We pulled, replaced, torqued. I blended the fender into the door seam until the pearl forgot its origin. 0.5 gram more in the second coat, Maya said. She was right. The sun blinked, fooled. Mom arrived with sandwiches and the expectation that food equals favor. She looked smaller in the shop light. It's a lot, she said. Your father isn't what he was at work. I know, I said. I'm sorry. I'll do it right and keep the 10. Thank you for not making me beg. You shouldn't have to, I said, and taped the next line. By late afternoon the bay smelled like clear and small victories. Greg admired the gaps like a jeweler and stamped boxes. Clean, he said. I have Yelp, Maya muttered. Dad tested the hood twice, then a third time as if apology hid under the latch. This is better than before, he admitted. Mom ran her thumb along the seam and smiled with her whole face. You're very good at this, Nathan. I show up, I said. And I price my worth. Invoice printed. Family discount circled in red. Warranty card slid across the counter. Dad stared at customer signature, hand hesitating in the small stutter I recognize from every time he almost says he's proud. He signed. The pen left a groove deep enough to plant something. They asked about extras. Just touch a scratch? Throw in a detail? Buff headlights since you're already there? Happy to quote, I said, genuinely cheerful now that the fence held. 3 small numbers, 1 big one for time. Maybe later, Dad said. I handed them the keys like keys, not ceremony. Drive slow the first day. Let the clear cure its ego. Mom hugged me quick. Dad offered a handshake. Not trophy, truce. After they left, the shop got very quiet. How are the feelings? Maya asked. Wet, I said. Curing. Mr. Landry, the church treasurer, called that evening. Printing programs for Saturday. Would your shop donate a small gift card for the raffle? $50 and a headlight restore, I said. He chuckled. I'll add your logo to the sponsors. I didn't ask for that. Exactly, he said. Alina locked up with me. Outside, the bakery exhaled sugar into the night. You okay? I am, I said, surprised to find it true. You cured, she said. Like clear. We stood under the Hinge logo until the neighbor's lights winked out. I flipped the sign to closed and the feeling in my chest to open. Tomorrow would be Saturday. A dinner would happen. And whatever happened in that room, my price sheet would still be on the wall in the morning. Saturday, the church hall smelled like coffee and canned applause. I went because Alina asked. Back row, she said. We can make faces. Slides rolled, Dad in a hard hat, Dad at a picnic, Dad with a fish of negotiable size. He looked smaller without his office door. Mr. Landry opened with acknowledgments. Thanks to our sponsors, Baker's Dozen, Allen Printing, Hinge Auto Body. Heads tilted. A few turned toward me and then toward Dad like a tennis crowd. I raised a hand. No speech. Just a hinge on a screen. Dinner was chicken that tried. Our table included Mom's Bible study friends and a neighbor who whispered, Your rear quarter blend? Sorcery. I pretended to be humble and nearly succeeded. Speeches. Coworkers thanked Dad for showing up early and staying late, words I now loved. Finally Dad took the mic. He cracked a joke about meetings, then found me. And my son, he said, voice warming. He got our car fixed for the dinner. Family discount, you know? He smiled, inviting the room to chuckle at the good-natured efficiency of relatives. The laugh started to rise. It tasted like pizza for payment. Alina squeezed my knee. I felt 17 for 3 heartbeats, then remembered my price sheet. I stood, not dramatically, just enough to adjust my chair. Mr. Landry, blessed extrovert, took the mic. And speaking of Hinge, he said, cheerful as daylight, we drew the raffle. The gift card and headlight restore go to Mrs. Ortega. Applause. Also, he added, that shop did not ask for a mention. They just told me to schedule like everyone else. A few chuckles tilted into nods. The laugh changed flavor. Dad blinked the way people do when a mirror arrives. Yes, well, he's very talented, he said. Always fix things at home. Mr. Landry smiled. He fixed our youth bus after the retreat, he said. Full price. Worth it. The room made the small sound groups make when a story tilts and writes itself. I didn't add anything. Silence is sometimes the cleanest clear coat. After dessert, people drifted in polite ellipses. A woman pressed my hand and said she'd call about a door ding. A man asked for a card for his son. Mom found me near the coat rack and touched my sleeve. "We were proud of you tonight," she said. "I just get nervous about money." "I know," I said. "Me too. That's why I write numbers down." Dad approached, hands empty. "I shouldn't have said family discount like that," he said, quiet. "It made it sound like you bailed us out instead of did your job." "You were desperate," I said. "You asked?" I answered. "We're square." He looked at the carpet's pattern, squares arguing with circles. "Why hinge?" "Because hinges are unsung," I said. "They hold the door while everyone argues about paint." He huffed, almost a laugh. "There." We helped fold chairs. On our way out, Mr. Landry handed me 2 programs. The back page had a little square with my logo. It didn't feel like exposure. It felt like alignment. Outside, Saturday night had that stillness that makes choices sound louder. Alina slid into my van and buckled like she owned the seat. "Milkshakes and not talking?" "Deeply," I said. We drove past the bus stop. It looked like furniture from an old apartment. Back at the shop, I flipped the sign to open, not for work, just so the hinge on the glass caught the streetlight and threw it across the floor. Tomorrow, people will come in bent. I'd send them out straight. And if family showed up again, we had a script and a pen. 3 months later, Mom booked online like everyone else. Driver window slow. She arrived with a tin of bakery cookies and a receipt for her deposit. Dad came too, carrying only his wallet. I diagnosed, quoted, printed. No flinch, no sigh. While Maya swapped the regulator, Dad studied the office wall, a photo of the bus stop bench I shot the day I got the keys. "You kept that?" "I like remembering both doors." He nodded. "We're trying," he said, as if testing a hinge he'd never noticed. At the counter, Mom hugged me and said, "See you at your hours." After close, I filed their paid invoice, set out tomorrow's estimates, and flipped the sign to closed. The glass clicked into place, the hinge doing its small, faithful work. Family discount, I've learned, isn't a number. It's respect, and it pays on time.